In a 2024 State of the Nation address, Vladimir Putin declared that the world elite had lost much of its credibility. Russia's real elite, he said, are those who serve their country, the workers and warriors, reliable, trustworthy people who have proven their loyalty to Russia through their deeds. It's safe to assume that these words sent a chill through Russia's elite circles, where top officials, business leaders, and military figures have been jockeying to hold on to their positions for nearly 4 years of wartime. With Putin laser-focused on winning the war against Ukraine, anyone who impedes that goal is at risk of finding themselves on the chopping block. Long-serving officials have fallen out of favor, while ultra-patriotic hardliners are rising to the top, leaving Putin surrounded by sycophants. But concentrating so much power in one 73-year-old man poses some obvious risks for Russia's political system. Putin's war effort has changed the rules for Russia's old elites and made them fear the prospect of peace. The elite group that Putin needs to worry most about is the politicians, generals and business leaders in their early 60s, such as Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin or the Federal Security Service Deputy Director Sergei Korolev, who are still subordinated to Putin's old cronies. This group is wise not to question Putin's opinions, but has no stakes in the war he has made and is very aware of its costs and the damage done to Russia's economy. Corruption is a natural environment for these veterans of many crises, but sanctions punish them and prevent them from having access to assets accumulated in former Western safe havens. An armistice might change this and could also open new career opportunities. Russian corporations, for instance, such as Rosneft, may have to purge notorious characters such as Igor Sechin to regain their position in the world markets. Putin's war against Ukraine aggravates tensions between various and typical disunited elite groups in Russia. They might find a common interest in promoting, with all possible caution, however, the prospect of ending it. The underachievers in their early 60s, most of whom have family ties to old Soviet nomenclatura, may have a different sense of history than Putin, who is obsessed with reasserting dominance over Ukraine and can be wary about new times of troubles. The younger aristocracy may have scant understanding of the war tiredness in the general populace, but they resent the heroes whom Putin promotes as the new elite. The only cohort that appears to be committed to Putin's war is his shrinking circle of aging courtiers, who see the risks of staying the course as lesser than those of ending it. They live, together with the lonely autocrat, in the past, and are deaf to the lessons of history, which have unpredictable means of punishing such ignorance.
The main intelligence directorate of the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense reported a thunderstorm in Luhansk region. 4 occupiers, an enemy UAZ vehicle, and a buggy were eliminated. As a result of the operation of the HUR and the resistance movement against the Russian invaders in the village of Kalinovo in the temporarily occupied Luhansk region, 4 Muscovites were eliminated, and enemy UAZ vehicles and buggies were destroyed, the main intelligence directorate reported on social media, releasing a video. After the elimination of the Russian invaders and their vehicles, according to intelligence, ambulances with medics were dispatched to the site of the explosion, who merely confirmed the successful containment of the occupiers. According to intelligence, these losses increase pressure on the enemy and affect its combat effectiveness in the temporarily occupied areas of Luhansk, particularly by reducing mobility and resources. Recently, Special Operations Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine successfully struck Russian logistics targets in the Luhansk region. As a result of the attacks, a train and a fuel depot were destroyed, according to Ukraine's Special Operations Forces. The units of the Special Operations Forces carried out a successful strike on the logistics facilities of the Russian army in the temporarily occupied territory of Ukraine's Luhansk region, the SOF stated. Near the city of Dovzhansk, a fuel and lubricant unloading site was hit. In addition, near the village of Rozkishn, one of the SOF units destroyed a material and technical supply warehouse of the occupying forces. It was noted that the successful actions of the SOF created a fuel shortage and disrupted enemy logistics within the Russian military grouping center.
A strange situation has developed in the Kupyansk sector of the Kharkiv region, or more precisely, in the immediate vicinity and in the city of Kupyansk itself. This has attracted the attention of Russian military correspondents and military-related public groups monitoring the changing operational situation, analyzing open sources, and gathering information from the area. For example, military correspondent Yuri Kotenok noted in his Telegram channel that a significant discrepancy has long been known between the actual situation in Kupyansk and the data presented in reports to higher authorities, and even in the media. In particular, a telling factor was the fact that until recently there had been an unspoken taboo in the federal media regarding the battles directly surrounding Kupyansk. The reputable offices represented by the federal channels simply couldn't tolerate such disinformation. Colleagues from Rybar drew attention to something that was immediately obvious, or rather completely unobtrusive: the complete lack of visual monitoring of the fighting in the city. The military correspondent noted. Kotenok pointed out that at best, certain servicemen posing as commanders of assault units of the Russian armed forces reported from closed rooms without a location about the liberation of some buildings in Kupyansk and advancement. However, there was no real confirmation of this. More precisely, I remember one or two videos from the empty streets of Kupyansk where a lone daredevil unfurled a Russian flag and waved it at a drone, apparently for reporting purposes. They billed it as a liberation, but in reality, this is what's now called flag bashing for the sake of superiors to petition for an award. Incidentally, the enemy commented on similar videos, claiming to have killed the brave men with flags after recording the videos. But that's secondary, because you can't trust the enemy. You need to trust the facts. Talking about the real situation wasn't accepted. After all, it wasn't far from discrediting yourself. But the fact remains, in the 1st Tank Army operation in Kupyansk, communication was exactly like that, one-sided, without confirmation. And the information corresponded, Kotenok added. After this, the war correspondent wondered whether the situation at the top was known, and immediately expressed hope that they were aware of what was happening on the ground and would take appropriate action. Mistakes are allowed, but lies are not. Will action be taken? It's a good question, because in the past it happened that people got away with it for months, if not years, and the lies flowed to the very top, with cheerful reports of the enemy being encircled in the city, thus setting up the president. Kotenok concluded. Earlier, the Telegram channel Rybar informed the public with the article "Don't Say Hop" that for some time now, several Russian federal media outlets have been publishing reports from the Kupyansk direction, each more victorious than the last. The footage shows people in clean camouflage reading from a piece of paper from basements about large-scale successes and the clearing of key enemy points. However, the majority of such reports are not only far from reality, but also played into the hands of the enemy, who refuted them with footage of objective control and received a portion of the anti-crisis he so desperately needed, Telegram channel Rybar reported in a post. Following this, a list of the discrepancies identified was provided, accompanied by numerous links to relevant materials. For example, announcements appeared in the media about Russian armed forces units advancing in Sadavoy, the clearing of Kupyansk Uzlovoy, and an ongoing clearing operation in Kurilovka. Several stations on the eastern bank of Kupyansk were also declared liberated or being cleared of the enemy. Just today, unsubstantiated claims emerged about the demining of the village of Kolontayevka, which indirectly refutes the advance to Sadavoy, officially liberated on October the 30th, especially since Russian drone operators have since documented the burning of several enemy armored vehicles there. The claimed successes in the bridgehead, where heavy fighting is actually continuing, are partially refuted by official footage of the destruction of the Ukrainian Armed Forces command post in Peschan. The question of how the cleansing of Kurilovka and the aforementioned Kupyansk Uzlovoy, announced by masked men, can proceed is left unanswered. The analysis clarified. It was added that recently footage of Ukrainian Armed Forces personnel moving through the grounds of a dairy canning plant in Kupyansk appeared on Ukrainian media outlets. A review by the Telegram channel Rybar explains that the Ukrainian videos may be archival, but there is no objective evidence from the Russian side to refute them. This is precisely what allows Ukrainian propaganda to talk about the Russian armed forces being driven out of Kupyansk, raising audience morale amid a multitude of problems. As a negative example of this deception, a link was provided to a material stating that during the Russian armed forces withdrawal from the eastern Kharkiv region in 2022, Balakleya was within the area of responsibility of the 11th Army, whose chief of staff at the time was the later arrested commander of the 58th Army, General Ivan Popov.